Imagine being locked up in a federal prison, unable to go anywhere, yet so rich that you casually buy 2 Ferraris just out of boredom. That's exactly what Pooh Shiesty did, and that's only the beginning. From growing up in the tough Cane Creek projects of Memphis to getting a life-changing call from Gucci Mane, Pooh went from street hustler to millionaire almost overnight. While most rappers lose everything behind bars, he was making power moves from prison, buying luxury cars, dropping 6 figures on jewelry, and even getting a mansion for his mama before he could legally drink. Stick around, because we're breaking down the wild journey of a young rapper who turned early hardship into an empire, and the moves he made that left the world stunned today. We're diving into the wild story of Lantrell Williams Jr., better known as Pooh Shiesty. Imagine this: you're locked up in a federal prison cell. You can't go anywhere, can't drive, can't do much of anything, but you've got so much money that you decide to buy 2 Ferraris just out of boredom. Sounds insane, right? That's exactly what Pooh Shiesty did. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the story of a young guy who went from the projects to millionaire status almost overnight. One call from Gucci Mane changed everything. Suddenly, Pooh was dropping $100,000 stacks on grills, buying Lamborghinis like they were toys, and even buying his mom a mansion. And he did all this before he could legally drink. Here's the crazy part. Most rappers lose money when they get locked up. Pooh Shiesty, he was making power moves from behind bars that blew everyone's minds. From his first record deal to those Ferrari purchases in prison, this journey is absolutely wild. Stick around, because we're about to break down how he built a multi-million-dollar empire, stayed rich while behind bars, and flexed harder than almost anyone in the industry. Pooh Shiesty, born Lantrell Williams Jr., came up in South Memphis, specifically the Cane Creek projects. If you know Memphis, you know that's no joke. The city has one of the toughest streets in America, with over 100 gangs operating in the area. Pooh grew up in a world where violence and the hustle were part of daily life. His dad, known as Mob Boss, was already deep in both the street life and the music game. He ran a record label called Mob Ties Records, so music was literally in Pooh's DNA. But life wasn't all about studio sessions. His father faced serious legal troubles, including major charges back in 2004 when Pooh was just a kid. Growing up in South Memphis, specifically the Cane Creek projects, Pooh Shiesty was exposed to 2 very different worlds from a young age: the music studio and the streets. His dad, known as Mob Boss, was already deep in both worlds. On one hand, he ran Mob Ties Records, giving Pooh early access to beats, studio sessions, and the music business. On the other hand, his father was heavily involved in the street game and faced serious legal issues, even catching major charges back in 2004 when Pooh was just a kid. This combination of influences gave young Lantrell Williams Jr. a unique perspective. He learned about art, entrepreneurship, and creativity, but also saw the harsh realities of life in the streets. By the time he was 11 years old, Pooh had already caught his first robbery charge. Most kids his age were focused on school, sports, or hanging out with friends. But Pooh was learning the hard way that survival in his neighborhood required toughness, street smarts, and hustle. By 14, he was back in the system. A clear sign that the pull of the streets was stronger than the pull of a normal childhood. He wasn't a bad kid. He was a product of his environment, responding to pressures, opportunities, and temptations that most kids could never imagine. Despite the early brushes with the law, Pooh Shiesty still managed to finish high school, a feat that many might overlook given the chaos around him. Education wasn't his primary focus, he was chasing bigger dreams. But he understood that finishing school could be a stepping stone to something more. After graduation, he and his friends formed Choa Gang, a street crew that was serious about making money by any means necessary. This wasn't just a rap collective or a music group, they were an organized crew operating in the streets. And Pooh was right at the center of it. While many would have assumed that music was his first priority, that wasn't the case. Pooh Shiesty was more interested in basketball dreams and street hustle in his early teens. But the studio always lingered in the background. He spent hours watching his dad in the recording studio, absorbing everything from how tracks were laid down to how contracts were signed. Music was literally in his DNA, even if he didn't realize it at first. The streets and music weren't just parallel paths, they were intertwined. The street life taught him resilience, confidence, and strategic thinking, all skills that would later translate to his rap career. He understood risk and reward, how to handle pressure, and how to read people. Lessons he learned the hard way on the corners and in the studios of South Memphis. Every robbery charge, every encounter with law enforcement, Every hustle on the street added a layer to his mental toughness, shaping him into someone who could navigate the music industry with the same grit he used to survive the streets. By the time he finally stepped into the booth seriously in 2018, Pooh Shiesty had already lived more in his first 18 years than most people experience in decades. His first single, Hell Night featuring Big 30, blew up with millions of views, proving that the lessons he learned in both worlds had prepared him for this moment. He wasn't just a product of his environment, he was a strategic thinker, a hustler, and a performer, ready to turn everything he had learned into a career that could change his life forever. This dual upbringing, music on one side, streets on the other, would define Pooh Shiesty. It taught him how to stay sharp, stay flexible, and keep moving. Skills that became the foundation of his rise to millionaire status. The challenges of his early life didn't hold him back. They propelled him forward, giving him the experience and mindset needed to navigate fame, wealth, and power. Once he finally broke through, by embracing both worlds, Pooh Shiesty didn't just survive, he prepared himself to dominate in the music game and beyond, turning early hardship into a blueprint for success. Despite all the chaos, he graduated high school. After that, he and his friends formed Choa Gang, a street crew focused on making money by any means necessary. This wasn't just a rap group, it was a real organization. Pooh didn't even take music seriously at first. He was chasing basketball dreams and street money. Everything changed in 2018, when he stepped into the studio. His first single, Hell Night featuring Big 30, blew up with over 6 million views, letting everyone know Memphis had a new king in the making. Then came the call that changed everything. Pooh Shiesty was building a name in Memphis with tracks like Main Slime, when out of nowhere, his phone rings. It's Gucci Mane, sliding into his DMs. Gucci had been watching him, and within months, Pooh Shiesty was signed to 1017 Records. Just like that, he went from a local Memphis buzz to being backed by one of the biggest names in trap music. That signing was Pooh Shiesty's first major payday. While the numbers haven't been made public, it instantly put him in millionaire status. Estimates put his net worth around $1 million, but that was just the beginning. From there, he kept exploding onto the scene, dominating both the streets and the charts. If you thought signing with Gucci Mane was huge, wait until you hear what happened next. In November 2020, Pooh Shiesty teamed up with Lil Durk for the track Back in Blood, and the story behind it is wild. Pooh was in Savage Inc. studio in Atlanta, laid down his verse, then ran it over to Durk in another room. Durk heard it and dropped his verse in just 5 minutes. That song blew up, instantly hitting number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 6 on the hip-hop charts. We're talking hundreds of millions of streams just from Spotify, which pays roughly $3,500 per million streams. Back in Blood could have earned around $70,000, and that's not even counting YouTube, Apple Music, or other platforms. Once the money started flowing from Gucci Mane and streaming royalties, Pooh Shiesty went all out with his spending. And I mean living like a king. He treated himself like he'd been rich his whole life. Let's start with the jewelry. You know, a rapper's ice game tells the whole story. Pooh Shiesty was hitting up Johnny Dang regularly, dropping stacks on chains, watches, and custom pieces. He had 17 chains, some gifted by Gucci, some purchased with his own cash. And then get this, he spent $100,000 on grills for his teeth. That's money most people make in 2 years, and he dropped it just to flex. Cars. Pooh wasn't messing around. His main ride was a Lamborghini Urus, starting at around $200,000, rocking a 4.0 V8, hitting 125 miles per hour, and going 0 to 60 in just 3.6 seconds. This wasn't just a career, was a statement. Gucci Mane even gifted him a slime green 2021 Jeep Track Hawk, another six-figure beast capable of keeping up with supercars. And just for fun, Pooh was renting McLarens, which can run anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 depending on the model. He was switching between Lambos, Jeeps, and McLarens like most people change sneakers. But here's where it gets next level insane. The 2 Ferraris from prison. Most people, when locked up, would save their money, pay fees, and wait for release. Not Pooh Shiesty. In 2021, while sitting in federal prison, he got bored and decided to buy 2 Ferraris. Let that sink in. He couldn't drive them, couldn't see them, but he dropped hundreds of thousands. Why? Apparently, his Instagram model ex had moved on while he was locked up. And Pooh wanted to show both her and her new man that he was still on top. Basically, he was saying, yeah, I'm locked up, but I'm still richer than you'll ever be. Most people would be stressing about legal fees, commissary, and saving for release. But Pooh was financially untouchable. And it wasn't just about flexing, he also made moves for his family. One of the most heartwarming parts of Pooh Shiesty's story is how he bought his mom a mansion. He took care of his people while living life like a king, proving that his wealth wasn't just for show, was for family, legacy, and power. As soon as the money started rolling in, one of Pooh Shiesty's first major moves was buying his mom a brand new mansion. We don't know the exact price or location, but from what we've seen in footage, it's a massive house, likely several $100,000, if not more. This showed that no matter how wild his lifestyle got, Pooh never forgot his roots. Taking care of your family comes first, and he did it in a big way. And he didn't stop there. Even his pets were high-end investments. Pooh Shiesty went all out on pit bull puppies, some of the most expensive and well-bred dogs you can get, depending on the bloodline and training. These pups can cost $2,000 to $20,000 each. Pooh didn't just get one, he got multiple pups, which could easily total $40,000 or more, not including feeding, training, and care. But when you're making millions, spending tens of thousands on dogs is just another Tuesday. Pooh Shiesty also built a merchandise empire, partnering with 1017 Records. He sold everything from hoodies at $45 to face masks for $15. It might seem small, but when you're moving thousands of units, the profits add up fast. Merchandise has some of the highest profit margins in the music business, so every hoodie sold put real money straight into his pocket. But the real money, that came from streaming. Pooh's debut project, Shiesty Season, debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, moving 62,000 album equivalent units in its first week, a huge accomplishment for a newcomer. His biggest hits, like Back in Blood with Lil Durk, racked up over 100 million YouTube views, while tracks like Monday to Sunday with Lil Baby and Big 30 had over 50 million views. Across all platforms, his songs pulled in hundreds of millions of streams, even at a conservative estimate of $3,500 per million streams. Pooh Shiesty was making serious money just from plays. Of course, wealth comes with responsibilities. When he faced his federal case, Pooh hired Bradford Cohen, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the game, the same lawyer who represented Kodak Black and YNW Melly. Legal fees like that can easily run into the hundreds of thousands, showing exactly how much money Pooh had at his disposal. Even behind bars, his hustle didn't stop. He recorded Federal Contraband and Federal Contraband 2 on a jail phone, keeping his name buzzing and his streaming numbers high. Buying Ferraris from prison wasn't just flexing. It was proof that his money was well managed and generating income even when he couldn't actively work. Unlike many rappers who go broke while locked up, Pooh's wealth was structured to keep growing. When he got early release in October 2025, after serving just 3 years of a 5-year sentence, he went straight to the jeweler and dropped $100,000 on a new chain. That move made it clear prison hadn't hurt his pockets at all. His homie Big 30 celebrated with him, rolling with a huge bankroll, proving that the Choa gang money was still flowing. Pooh Shiesty came back stronger, richer, and ready to dominate, showing the world that even setbacks couldn't stop a real king. Even after 3 years away from the game, Pooh Shiesty's wealth was still intact and ready for the next chapter. So, what's he really worth? Let's break it down. Record deal with 1017 Records, estimated $1 million streaming revenue, hundreds of thousands from major hits merchandise sales, tens of thousands in estate, several hundred thousand in property vehicles, at least $500,000 in cars, including Lambos, Ferraris, jewelry, over $100,000 on chains, watches, and grills, legal fees, hundreds of thousands on top-tier lawyers. Conservative estimates put Pooh Shiesty's net worth between $2 to $5 million. But given his ability to drop hundreds of thousands on cars while in prison, the real number could be even higher. What makes his story so impressive isn't just the money, it's how fast he adapted to living rich. In just a few years, he went from the projects to buying Ferraris in prison. He was dropping 6 figures on jewelry, buying a mansion for his mom, and flexing with exotic cars, all while staying financially solid. This wasn't a one-time flash. It was smart, sustainable wealth that was properly managed and invested. Pooh Shiesty's journey also teaches us a few lessons. Diversify your income. Music was just one part. Streaming, merchandise, and investments all played a role. Take care of family first. His first big purchase was his mom's house. Invest in yourself. Expensive jewelry and cars weren't just for show, they built his brand. plan for setbacks. His financial setup let him maintain his lifestyle even while behind bars. Flex smartly. Buying Ferraris from prison was the ultimate power move. Now that Pooh is back on the streets, the question is, what's next? He made a $100,000 jewelry purchase on his first day out, proving his money is still long. With the music industry evolving during his time away and a loyal fan base, he's positioned to make even more than before, operating under his own Choppa Gang label instead of 1017 Records. Means he's taking more control of his business and keeping more of the profits, which could lead to even bigger paydays. Pooh Shiesty's story is one of the wildest rags to riches journeys in recent hip-hop. From the Cane Creek projects to buying Ferraris from prison, he showed the world how to go from broke to rich practically overnight. But his wealth isn't just about money, it's about power, respect, and taking care of family and crew. Even facing federal charges and prison, his financial foundation allowed him to make power moves from behind bars, dropping hundreds of thousands on cars he couldn't even drive. That's the level of wealth we're talking about. This isn't just rap money. This is generational wealth, built smart and built to last. Pooh Shiesty's journey back into the music game proves one thing: prison didn't break his spirit or his bank account. If anything, it showed the world that his success was real, his money was long, and his story is far from over. That's the multi-million-dollar life of Pooh Shiesty, a tale of street dreams, overnight success, and a lifestyle so wild it lets you buy Ferraris from prison just because you're bored. Keep grinding, stay focused, and remember, sometimes, all it takes is one phone call to change your whole life.